turn it over to the chair.
Okay. Okay. Call to order. Is this one recorded or do we need minutes?
What's up?
Do we need minutes on this one? Last time I guess it was recorded. So
Yeah, George is not here, so you're gonna have to find somebody to take the minutes.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Comments from, I guess, the public? So you can start with, whether there's using anybody here for the end. What you're interested in. I'm Frank Chris, and then this is we talked about, so if you want me to leave, I'll do that. Okay. Yeah, no fun talking about it. Yeah, really. Okay, that's all the comment. As far as I know, the minutes in September were recorded, so we started application. I don't know how we approved it.
I mean, even though they're recorded, it
Yeah, I don't think they were. I wasn't at the meeting, but you didn't take one. Robert said, well, they're recorded, so they're on the record.
I mean, the recorded, but you still should have just clip notes of what occurred. And all it is pretty much just drafting. I mean, if you have this in Word, if you're gonna be the secretary, just drafting little notes next to it, and that's the easiest thing to do.
He only sends it out to PDF, so I have to.
What is
not
it?
do the whole thing.
Yeah.
We'll just have to table to the last. There's not really any other choice.
Got it.
Okay, well, the new member application is the first one. And we just have open for one person. The dates of application were almost the same. You want me to step out and back in the room?
Frank, real quick, do you plan on resigning from any of your current positions on the tree board?
Yeah, number both of the tree board and the secretary. It doesn't take a lot of my time, but I'd like to stick with that. Parks and Rec is a need.
Okay.
So that's the one I would resign from.
Okay.
Is that what you can only be on one committee?
No, it's just Frank would be then on 3 committees. So the most I've seen anybody serve is on 2. I'm not sure if council will bring that up at the meeting, whether when they ratify somebody, even though it's hard to shoo away any volunteers.
Yeah.
But the most I've seen anybody serve on a committee is 2.
Especially when you have a shortage.
So if he's willing to resign from Parks and Recreation,
That's what I would like to do.
So if you end up having to do vote based on a condition, right? He's approved the project.
Continue to define.
For Parks and Rec.
And that could be a condition.
Right.
But, Well, we never had two applications.
Two applications for
one position.
Yeah.
Why not?
Well,
We've had two openings, but never two applications.
Roger, you can always have what's called ex officio member, which means that the person does not have a vote and does not have, cannot count as a quorum. But they can discuss some of the items with you, and then if there ever does become an opening, it's like being on the bench and just bring that person in on the bench. So they gain the experience and gain some of the knowledge.
What would you call them?
Ex officio.
Individual. Oh, yeah. I think I filled out builders association. Okay, well, I guess we could do it by vote.
Unfortunately.
I'll make a motion.
Yeah, the first question that I had though is, I know his background. I don't really know Greg, although I have had a couple of people call me today. I guess he's been in development most of his career, construction development. So he certainly is a qualified applicant based on his history, but his application doesn't really see a little bit there. He was with Wyndham Hotels.
They basically qualified. Qualifications on put anybody down. You would like recommendation?
Yeah, I would make a motion that we accept Frank to join our group.
I'll second.
Is that with the condition?
Yeah, so the comment now, so that's our revised motion based on the retiring from the Parks and Rec Board. And then do we want to also name Greg as a
Sure.
Anything we can do to encourage him to want to participate in this.
Yeah.
The fact that he has a surplus to do, he tries to be involved.
yeah, so he's coming to the meetings and then, on the bench and training.
That'd be great.
I think it'd be
Part of the discussion.
We take his opinion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Want to restate that motion?
All right. Make a motion that we approve Mr. Kranz, and we invite Mr. Anderson to become an ex-officio. Is that how you say it? Officio. And with the requirement that Frank retire from Parks and Rec. Now do I listen?
I'll second that. All in favor? Aye.
Frank, you want to come and sit at the table?
Yeah.
You gotta get sworn in by council.
Doesn't he have to
You have to
be?
be approved by council.
Yeah, it's got to be approved by
We
council.
can sit at the table after I'm here.
I was just-
Because the council. I'll stay here.
Let us say.
Take a roll. Okay, then moving on with our agenda. The Ward Trails Plan is the first thing.
I believe you guys have reviewed the trail as a whole, main purpose, the council will be making a decision on a direction for the pedestrian bridge in 2 weeks. And so like the board's opinion, we did have a workshop on Tuesday, on a group of residents. There is a survey that is taken, it's neck and neck between two different designs. One with a more arch look and then lower profile. Both by the same company. Great brothers. They were most cost effective.
Who was surveyed?
There was a public survey sent out, I believe, it's still
with any workshop that directly impacts people within 500 feet of a project, the policy is now to notify people with door hangers within 500 feet. So we did that within 500 feet of the canal bridge. And then we did that on December 7th, and we had a survey that was open until December 31st, which I think we had 20 responses, 3 of them were in the same household.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I won't say that you didn't send it, a notice for me to do a survey, but I thought.
Yeah, it's posted, and that's all we can do. But the two bridges that were on consideration was the Bridge Brothers Pratt, which is pretty much what you see at a state park or something like that, and then the Bow Street, which has a similar look to like a railroad crossing. Council is in favor of the Bow Street, and the reasons for that is they believe that the Pratt will just encourage more kids to jump off the canal. And with the bowstring, it's a lot more difficult to climb it and to jump off. In addition to that, when it came to color, they had a choice between painting it or to do the weathered steel. Based upon a lot of comments from not only the public but council, they weren't in favor of the weathered steel because, again, it rubs off when you touch it, you know, and some people that lived in, I think, Washington or Portland or somewhere else said that they also saw weathered steel and it just didn't look as nice as the painted colors. But the problem is that not everybody is in favor of the black color. So we're going back to the Bridge Brothers and asking them to give us a palette of colors with the focus being on brown or bronze. And then when it comes to the width of the bridge, council agreed on about 14 feet that allows for 2 golf carts to pass each other, as well as a pedestrian to move to the side if 2 golf carts are traversing at the same time. The bridge will be 14 feet. The pedestrian bridge will be at a minimum the height of the road bridge, which brings it up, not down.
Right.
It'll be made of concrete or steel and concrete. The ground will be concrete, which matches the trail system. And, you know, this bridge will allow for golf carts, but then the golf carts will go back onto South Lake Butler Boulevard and Third Main. And the pedestrian traffic would be directed to the trails on the old road right away. Option 3 and option 4 are the 2 options. Option 4 was the one that council will be considering for approval. We just need to confirm the height and then also the colors.
Okay, you said option 3 is what the council considered.
They did. There was 3 and 4 were the 2 popular ones with the survey and also with the people that were on the December 7th call. But again, with the kids being kids jumping off bridges, even though they're probably gonna find a way to jump off the bowstring.
Yeah.
The Pratt brothers, they seem to think that it encourages more people to, because it's lower, it doesn't have that curved section, that it'll encourage kids more to jump off the
Yeah, it's a bummer. I thought option 4 was very attractive.
Well, option 4 is the one that the council.
Okay.
Yeah.
And another reason is that railroad bridge will.
And food for thought, going with brown is specific to the National Park Service, so it gives you that thing of parking, which is brown.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of Russian steel on inverters in national parks, but the fact that it runs off, I can see that problematic. But I have a vote, I'd say I'm brown.
And they're also taking consideration.
Pretty signs reserved for the next building. The Park Service. Dragged off the field. Yeah, factory contact you. One other question I have, mistake made on this, we thought it was a wider, clearer area than it did, not realizing the court, the dimension we had was outside. I don't know whether you're not really going to put the railings on.
It'd be 14 feet.
So the 14 square feet.
Yeah, they'll have those little, I say kick plate kind of things on the side, rubber rails. But the actual distance between those rubber rails will be 14 feet.
That was a surprise. We didn't realize that it was outside.
Yeah.
We thought.
When you said that the pedestrians would be directed to the trail, is that by signage?
Bollards. So we're gonna have those up as Citizens West Orange Trail, where it says no motorized vehicles beyond this point. And have like 3 bollards that are gonna be up. And then we'll direct the golf carts to continue on. Because the bridge is gonna move to the east a little bit. But it'll direct them back onto the roadway. Old dirt main's gonna be paved from the second to the canal. And then South Dakota Boulevard is already paved, so it'll get them back onto those paved sections.
We are preferring the outside.
Yeah, or if there's anything that we wasn't considered.
Are we doing lighting?
I would assume there was some sort of lighting.
Yes. Yeah, we'll be doing some the solar lighting that we currently have. And then once we get moving with the phase 1 of the Ward Trail, we'll try to select the type of lighting that the residents like, and then hopefully incorporate that into the bridge.
Clear span will be pilot.
Clear shooting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking at the photo, of course, I didn't see.
Sort of length that they said was 40 feet.
Are we, when we're getting, it's 230,000. I guess that's design, construction, lighting, everything in.
That's for the bridge itself. You see, we have to pay 127 for the 127,000 for all the other stuff. So KHA's, designing all the stuff that's needed for the approaches, the permitting, so on and so forth, and then Bridge Brothers, that's their base fee for that type of bridge. Of course, it'll go up when you want to choose a different color that's not typical, or work with them on the width and the height and so on and so forth. So any changes that you make, I'm sure is going to cost a bit more.
Where is the money coming from?
We began to put over $150,000 away each and every, or actually $130,000 away each and every year since 4 years ago.
3 maybe.
Very,
I
so
think when I first started.
yeah, we'd probably be able to self-fund this next fiscal year. We've sent our appropriation request through Representative Thompson's office for the pedestrian bridge and the phase 1 of the Ward Trail. Also working with the West Orange Healthcare Alliance on the Healthy West Orange Trail interconnectivity system. We actually had a meeting this morning, so we're going to be presenting to the West Orange Healthcare Alliance in April and see if we can get some funding through them as well. I know Councilmember Sapp has submitted for the water, but not for the multimodal paths, right?
Yeah, so part of the government, economic and governmental advocacy group for the West Orange Chamber, I put it on your agenda for the multimodal path just on the local level. Just in case there's any, help that is out there. Of course, having a group like the West Orange Chamber behind it would be great. Of course, they've got a good relationship with helping West Orange. But I thought it was appropriate because it is in discussion with the West Orange Trail. They are trying to connect it over to Horizon West. that really has nothing to do with us, but, you know, I thought it was important to be included because we are trying to connect to the Bowie with their trail system. It's just a sidewalk we're connecting to, but it is technically a trail system. And then I've also had to water on the state level to see if we can get some advocacy from the chamber for that.
Yeah, I think we asked for a total of about 12.5 to 13 million from the state this fiscal year, so we'll see what happens. The MPO has already approved feasibility studies for 3 trail networks, one of which is the Horizons West Network, Phase 2. There's one near Popka, and I think there's one in East Orange County as well. So that takes those out of the mix of priorities. So hopefully we can get ours bumped up. Regardless of what Healthy West Orange does, I'm still going to take our individual projects to the West Orange Healthcare Alliance to see if they can fund at least 1 or 2 because they funded projects and all the other municipalities except us. So hopefully in April we'll be approved for at least the bridge or the Phase 1.
Is there a connection from us to the Foley? How is that?
Essentially a parking strip.
Yeah.
Okay.
The sidewalk will be deemed a trail.
It's you.
We're connecting to those sidewalks basically. So, you know, we'll go 10 feet until we get to the property line, I guess, and merge it somehow. So they're 5 feet. It's all day. But trying to use that connection to the advantage.
Where's the start? I mean, here's the head. Why would you know? So we don't, there's nothing more to discuss on the warrant there.
Unless you want to give me a formal recommendation on the bridge, I'm not sure. We aren't really in discussion.
Sounds like it's already done.
Well,
If there's something, I mean, it was a workshop, if there's something that you want me to bring to the table, based on.
well, I
Sorry,
think we just have to also defer.
Yeah, we ended up. But there's a preference for brown that's available or bronze or.
It's my thought. As long as it's a standard color, that's extra.
Right.
But again, black is, the city town is using that thing.
Right.
Let's say Lloyd makes the motion. They prefer select a lot or whatever. The preference for not. What do you think? Finish preference for. Yeah, I think it'd be more attractive than black. Personality, bronze. Yeah. I didn't go for it. That sounds like a motion. Well, you captured.
That's a really good intro.
Yeah. You covered it, took the words right out of my mouth. Harder. John seconded that.
Yes, I'll second.
All in favor? Okay, then, that's just part of the wood. And we got the separate, there's,
Yeah, unless you're, I mean, Robert, I think did a kind of good update where we're at for funding, but I don't believe it's any different than what's in front of you. I believe it's September.
And I'll send you guys over the Healthy West Orange interconnectivity maps because we had discussions today of what should be on the maps and what shouldn't be on the maps, like historical places, a good place to have, take a selfie, recreational areas, schools, and the committee decided just to keep it as simple as possible: civic centers, recreational centers, educational facilities, stuff like that. The more detail you put into this map, you're just gonna see all these little pings everywhere. It's gonna be very confusing.
yeah.
So I'll send it out to you guys tomorrow. And they actually get into where people in West Orange County are most likely to have diabetes, asthma, heart problems. Don't ask me how they find this stuff out, but they have actual heat maps in order for them to bolster their arguments on which areas should be phase one. And shockingly enough, the Coe and Winter Garden are, the reds, and we're pretty much light green, which means that we're pretty healthy. And then they tried to do income-based, and I was like, time out. That has nothing to do with trail systems, right? And we would never be considered for a interconnectivity or part of it if we start doing income-based. But what helped us out is sad to say, is the post office, because the accidents that occur over there and the amount of traffic that's over there. So there's that one red spot, so the 6th Avenue section, hopefully it will give us more of a lift to get prioritized up higher.
Yeah, do you think that's phase 2 that was? That would end up potentially requiring money?
Well, I would have to see it equal. It depends on how much the Alliance will commit and how much the MPO is going to commit as well.
So the school wasn't as much a priority as post office.
Well, they didn't take that into account as far as the school because they interconnect recreation, school, civic, commercial. What they wanted to do was connect it to health improvements and safety improvements. And for some reason, the post office was our only red spot.
Those phases over there.
No, the phases that we discussed was phase 1 would be north to the school. Phase 2 would be north to 6th Avenue. Phase 3 is 6th to the Grove, and phase 4 would be 7th down to 12th, if needed.
No sidewalk.
Nobody uses the sidewalk.
No, with the fact that it's fast.
Well, I don't use it, it's not there. But between 10 and
No, between
12,
11,
11,
12 and 2.
That's a dangerous area down there.
So people are actually going down there?
No, we have to make a connection to the south though, so we would have to figure out a way to do it.
Yeah, I know Roger and I crossed it.
Yeah, well, the thing is, there's a sidewalk on Chase all the way.
Right.
And it's nice to have a connection to one of the learners, but it's a block missing. If we ever improve that intersection, in the long run, but if the intermodal, multimodal pathway goes down, well, maybe we'll need it.
That's what I was saying about Dirt Main. It is your intermodal pathway.
Mm-hmm.
But having sidewalks out there, seriously, nobody walks them because they'd much rather be walking on Dirt Main. Right next to the roadway.
Well, yeah. If the pathway is done, we could probably take out the sidewalk. If you have the entire pathway done.
Yeah, what we would do is we would mirror what we're doing from north to the canal, which would be constructing a 10-foot wide concrete pathway that would meander on the railroad right of way and eliminate the one that's on Old Dirt Main right now. Yeah, and the same thing would be true for anything that's currently has a sidewalk. We put it onto the actual trail system.
But you're keeping Old Dirt Main.
No, we're going to be taking that out when we do the paving project. And then once we get phase 1 going, then we're going to create a pathway. So the kids will still use Old Dirt Main, but it's going to be a concrete or an asphalt roadway. So they can ride their bikes to the bridge.
So you're basically, it's just not dirt, but it's still going to be there.
sidewalk. Determine radius of cross. Almost every intersection or sidewalk. Built radius. And of course, a lot of sidewalks. Power lines.
See every truck on it.
Yeah, they have
They're supposed to take care of it.
yeah, they have an easement on our property, but if they disturb it in any which way, they have to repair it, whether their trucks get stuck and rip up the sod, they have to resod. Same thing with the sidewalks. The only thing that we don't have any control over is the trees.
Okay, so there's no action.
Informational purposes, the rest of the.
What else do we have to do? Look at the landscape before.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, for the landscaping and all that, that's just stuff that was done by Mallory with Kim Moore Associates. But when we get to the actual design aspect, because right now it's in that 30,000 feet up, looking at it holistically. And, you know, when we get into the actual design, then we can work with the residents on what would be adequate for landscaping that maybe can create sound barriers, make sure there's no light intrusion, where benches go, if they would want water fountains, and other activities or passive activities along the trail system.
So using the dock bench as a possibility for fundraising.
Yes. But I mean, not really, sorry. The adopted bench, you just pay for the bench. So it's probably $1,200 for the bench if we continue to use the recycled wood. But if we go to something different, like a wrought iron or anything like that, then we would just get the cost of the bench. But we want to make sure it's consistent all the way through.
There's a bench. I think Ken Ward put it there. Are you going to keep it? It's getting like buried into the jungle. It's on our side.
I can take a look at it and see.
Yeah, because I think it's still good enough to keep.
Yeah.
Is that okay? On the north side?
On the north side.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost, it may be in our property, but
The
it's,
broken one, like 1,100 bucks too.
I don't think it's broken. No, it was, I think Ken put it out there.
Not further down.
There's 12.
Oh, yeah, there's one there, that's right.
Falling apart.
Yeah, no, but this one looks, I mean, I haven't really investigated that much, but it looks like a bench still, so I think it's pretty good, but it's getting overgrown.
Roger, I can give you quick updates on some of the other stuff that we're working on real quick as it relates to long-range planning. You know, we did get the local mitigation strategy funds or the hazard mitigation strategy funds from FEMA. That's run through Department of Emergency Management. So West 2nd Avenue is in secondary design. That's being done by Michael Laura. First and Forest, they're doing slight remedial repairs to the drainage problem that's over there. We should be getting hopefully plans this week or next week.
Yeah, hopefully, probably not.
Yeah. Butler and Bessie, the concepts were adopted and the do not exceed were adopted by town council. We had an RFQ for the design, and then on the February town council meeting, we'll be approving awarding the bid for the design and then awarding the IPOs, then get going on the design. 45% design will come back to town council. We can run it through LRP if you guys want to take a look at it. And then 100% design goes back to town council as well. And in between those times, we'll be doing, again, a lot of meetings, a lot of virtual meetings with the stakeholders and people that live on those roadways, so they know what their perceived front yard is going to look like or how it may change. We're not adhering to Green Book standards. So that's why a lot of engineering firms would not respond to the RFQ. But, you know, again, this is a stormwater project and not a road project. So a lot of the people that live on those two roadways have been very engaged and very, very vocal. We've been working on it for probably 5 or 6 months. And I think we've come to a good compromise where now we can just focus on the design and get to that.
Did you mention 7th and 4th?
Yeah. Or 7th and 4th?
Or 6th?
7th.
7th.
7th and Butler.
Oh, and Butler, yeah.
Yeah, that's part of the Butler Basin. Then you have Bessie Basin, and then First and Forest, West 2nd Avenue. Bird Island, I had a meeting with Commissioner Wilson yesterday. It was kind of an on-board meeting, just Oakland, myself, and Commissioner Wilson. She seemed very friendly to the town of Windermere. She lives in Kings Point. She knows that we have a lot of traffic issues, and she understands the issues with Bird Island. So those are the 2 focuses of her agenda for the first term to help us out with. I'll be working to try to get 2 roundabouts constructed, one at 12th and Chase and one at 6th and Main. The 6th and Main would have to be first because if you open up a choke point, then 6th and Main is going to get overwhelmed pretty quickly. So we would have to do improvements at 6th and Main first. And once that's completed, then look at doing a possible roundabout or some other type of transportation improvement over at 12th and Chase. The third area where we may do a roundabout would be at Windermere Road and Main Street. It just makes sense for that 4-way stop. We would eliminate that, and then you wouldn't have that breakup of traffic that you currently have.
So you're talking to them about actually financing this?
Yes. We had Hail Marys with the previous administration where they said they would, and it never came to fruition. But now that we have somebody that lives, breathes, and drives the roadways, I think we have a better chance of getting cooperation, especially with the new assistant county administrator coming in, Darren Gray. I know Steve Coons from Oakland, who's a town manager there, worked with Darren and has reaffirmed to me that they're very friendly to local municipalities. He worked for Claremont and he worked for Lake County, so we can see it both ways, working from a city standpoint and working from a county standpoint. So a lot of times the counties actually work as a municipality. She also disagrees with what's happened in Horizons West. If you guys didn't join the 2050 comp plan workshop that Orange County did, they pretty much, when I asked them the question about transportation and connections from west to east, east to west, or parallel relievers, they said that they've already made all the infrastructure decisions for Horizons West and are not considering anything else. So no parallel relievers for the town. So the only thing that we can focus on is 12th and Chase and 6th and Main.
But all that's going to do is back it up on Main.
It's going to be backed up on. What do you mean? It'll get them in and out faster.
And then,
It won't back it up.
It'll be back up less because you have continuous
well, you
flow.
still are backing up down 6. So you're going
Yeah.
around Chase, you're gonna back up all the way to Chase. Because even if you widen this thing, it's still, you got the, down 6.
You'll have continuous, so you can go north-south continuous.
But it
And
just backs up, just like it does now in our 6th thing, because it doesn't have anywhere to go.
Yeah.
It's saying,
the problem is,
we're not gonna fix this problem.
Well,
It's just gonna get worse.
it's not going to be fixed and it can't be fixed.
No, it can't be,
Um,
because they don't get a parallel. So why do we want to make it easier for people to get in and out of here?
So they get up our side roads.
Nine times a day, you'll clear the road.
Yeah, if you,
Yeah, and a 2-lane roundabout, kind of open the arteries up. It helps.
Well, it's the only way we get out of there now is because they can't move. So they let us get in.
if I can reduce them, well, I mean, that, with the metering that happens on 12th and Chase, with the stop sign, that creates an issue.
Oh,
If you have a roundabout, that metering will go away. Because at a stop sign, you hit 1, 1, 1, and if you have a group of cars all coming at once, those gaps would be a lot easier to get out of.
And it's still just as hard to get in, because it's still.
Yeah,
Depends on
something
how you do that, if it stops sign before you-
I just personally think we should make it as uncomfortable as possible.
Yeah,
And
this
then
is-
they'll find another
this
way
is
to get
city
where they
model,
want to go.
don't come if it's unbacked up.
Yeah.
But the problem is,
But
it's
not a quicker route. That's the problem. is,
No,
yeah,
it will be because they'll be so backed up.
it's still,
It's still not ready to go all the way.
you would have to delay them by 7 minutes or more for them to find another route.
Oh, they will be. They will
So-
definitely, by the end of this year, they are gonna be backed up at least between 6th and Chase for at least 7 minutes.
But some of these can make it easier in the non-rush hour. Short.
That's just one woman's opinion. I think we're just.
No, what you're saying, like I said, the distance model, you make it as difficult as you can. I hear you. Makes it difficult for.
Oh, it's helped a lot, though.
Yeah, Bird Island, with that, they're creating a swim area, and that should be hopefully in place by August.
They're creating a swim area.
A swim area around Bird Island, and then as a secondary, what's going concurrently with the swim area is they're creating a critical wildlife area. So it would add two huge protections to Bird Island. Will that solve the issue at Bird Island? Maybe. Will it just push the problem somewhere else? Absolutely.
Well, the swim area would be pulled right up to the island.
Oh, it's not.
That keep them outside of the boats outside of the swim.
Correct.
So that won't allow problems to be lined up, tied up to trees.
And you cannot wade in the water either. To where right now, people, they pull their boats up, they wade in the water, they can reach over, grab a beer, and the boat's right there. This is going to be significantly a distance for them to swim to in order to get to the area where they can maybe wade. If you create a critical wildlife area, you can't even swim near that.
Okay, so, but they still can't get on the, theoretically, they're
No,
not allowed out.
That's it's owned by the Audubon Society, and there's a no trespassing.
Right,
gate,
but they still go on there because
Yep.
of the town. And
But once that happens, it's like the Fish and Wildlife Commission say they can't do anything with somebody complains. So if you have binoculars and that swim area is designated, people walk, then you call, and then they can go.
yeah, but they're not always here.
Well, but at least it's an attempt.
Yeah, but they have to be patrolling. They patrol many lakes, right?
No, we pay, your tax for the navigation board,
Yeah.
we pay for additional officers for Buffer Chain Lakes. And they're out every week.
Okay, but
Yeah, they just need one patrol or two patrols. But they are, it's part of what your tax dollars go for. So if we didn't pay for that, we would probably make some more.
okay, so the reason you're doing this though is so that they make it so it's more controlled than what it's.
What you want to do is you want to keep them further back, because if they can't wade in the water and they can't really create flotillas, then they're going to find someplace else to go.
It's your distance spinning model work.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, they have to anchor outside. Correct.
correct. But the problem is, again, you have other areas that I think that they may be interested in going to. Fernwood Park is my biggest fear. Then moving over towards that area. So hopefully we can do something to be more proactive to prohibit where their secondary areas.
There's a lot more cyclists needs and things like that. It's very muddy.
Yeah.
I kayak.
Or, I'm just hoping there's some place else beyond
Like
my earshot that people call me.
To build an island in the middle of the lake. Yeah. Back to West Second, you said FEMA approved funding for the secondary engineering work?
They for design and construction. 1 million for the project, and our cost share is 25%, so we paid 250,000. It was $1 million project anyway. It's going to include us upsizing the water lines as well. and we're putting hydrants, and we're only increasing the width of the road technically by, I think, about 4 feet, but that's just adding the curbing to it.
Right.
But the reason that FEMA is funding it is because when there's stormwater issues, and if that road gets flooded, emergency vehicles can't get to people, and people can't get out.
Right.
That's one of the main spines of Windermere, especially the Pine Street and the roadways, to make sure they can get out. So that's the focal point of why they funded that. Same with Butler, and the same thing with Bessie.
So the width would be the same like upon the park, at least section.
Yeah, actually, we're not doing it. We're talking.
I know that, I mean, the example is that width at Palmer.
I would look at in front of Kirby's house, next to Belly Roper. That's an area, the white fence, the white picket fence.
Okay, one further towards the independence.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then where Andrew McCarthy lives, I think it's like 9 something, West Second Avenue. There's a section there.
We're not going back to the curb line, like Pine Street going with the drop curb.
Yeah.
So you can do more for all.
Right.
We already received the first draw, right?
So basically.
So FEMA has approved, is funding all of these? The
Yes.
Second, the first and fourth, the Butler and the Bessie?
Yes. Not the
75%.
75%. So it's $3 million in funds, and we pretty much submitted for these back in, I think, 2014, 2015, because we just wanted to. There's all these different areas where people don't realize there's money, and you only get the money when there's a natural disaster. So we're hedging our bet on a natural disaster. And then Irma hit, and then monies came to the county, and we were already on the prioritization list.
Construction date.
Probably maybe the summertime, 12 months construction, if not 16. For some reason, this meeting became very popular. I'm scared to admit anybody in.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask.
Well, I think we're pretty much done.
When was Charles Berkeley?
Charles Barkley.
Berkeley. People are dropping out because I shut it down to where you can't do a chat, you can't do screen sharing.
So optimistically, 2022 construction.
For the second half. Probably.
Into this year to begin construction.
Probably sometime around late summer.
Finished.
Yeah.
And most of the homeowners on West Second pretty much bought into the design.
We pretty much talked to every single
I
resident.
know you had done that, but I hadn't heard any feedback. from the owners.
The only issue that we're having right now is that the cul-de-sac at the end, and we're gonna have to negotiate a transfer of that property. And just talking at least one property owner into doing that transfer.
Okay.
So if not, we just cut it off at the end, and then they're liable for that roadway, the drainage, everything, which I don't believe they understand that they are.
Again, the disincentive model, or this one would be instant.
Oh, absolutely.
Buy in.
Yeah, and then get rid of the liabilities and get rid of the flooding.
It's not a great road.
No, it isn't. I mean, I travel with it on time. If you got 2 SUVs or a truck, you pull over it. I know it's town property. I always feel guilty. I feel like I feel over somebody's right away to get out of the way. So, and the flooding closer to down towards the street. First intersection would be on West Second. Yeah, Forest. That flooding there is so persistent. Anything else? The grading.
I don't know if there'll be anything for next month. I would imagine the next thing will be, projects, seventh involvement. You approved, or recommended KHA as the vendor, council. So if there is any time in the meeting, we'll put an action on it. Just want to be ready.
I have here that we're gonna be awarded, town council will approve the awards, the Butler 7th and Destiny project, is that
For design.
for design?
We had to do concept first because I wanted council to get through the controversy first before we get to design, because we're on a schedule for FEMA. And if I would have started that now,
Yeah. you
then
have to
another
change
6 months is just wasted. So we duked it out for a good 5 to 6 months, and now we're at a good position where the design will go through hopefully smoothly.
So those designs will put in front of you guys. Have something tangible. Take me home with me.
Okay.
Good council member.
Are we ready for adjournment then?
Yeah.
I didn't make that.
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
So you can have Lloyd make it. You can tell Lloyd to make it. Yeah, I got all the control. George made the motion.
I said aye.
We all said aye. At, 52.
See you.